Choosing an e-bike which fits your needs is a big decision, and there's loads of options out there. So in this video, I'll be talking you through the things to look for when you're trying to decide between a mid-power and full-power e-mounted bike. Before you head to the comments and say, but you've got an e-bike channel, you're right. But we love riding mountain bikes here on GMBN. And we love riding e-bikes too. It's all bikes. Of course you will always see mountain bikes on GMBN, but now with a pinch of e-bikes too, because that is the off-road world we're living in now, and I love it. But if you're a mountain biker thinking about getting your first e-bike, then this video is for you. Right here I have two brilliant bikes from Obar that do ride quite differently. First I have the MidPower Rise and the FullPower Wild. First let's explain MidPower and FullPower. Or you might hear lightweight e-bikes and full-power e-bikes, but that can get confusing when brands start telling you about their latest full-power lightweight e-bike, and weights don't tell you the whole story. Simply put, if a bike has more power, it will need a bigger battery or the range won't be good enough, so more power equals more weight, generally speaking. Lower power bikes can run lighter, smaller capacity batteries, but still have comparable range to the full-power e-bikes. I think we need to get jargon busting here to explain this. Watt hours, the capacity of the battery. Mid-power bikes like the Rise can be spec'd with 420 watt hour or 630 watt hour batteries, and the Wild can come with 600 or 750. Both of these bikes have the option to add a range extender as well, which is an extra battery that looks like a water bottle and mounts where the water bottle does. The Rise with its Shimano motor has a 210 watt hour option, with its Bosch motor 250 watt hours. Which gives you the option to have 1,000 watt hours of capacity on an Obar Wild. And let me tell you, that is wild. That's going to let anyone, no matter how big or small you are, have a really big day out with loads of elevation and probably on full power as well. Torque, which is measured in Newton meters, the driving strength of the motor. This is the simplest way to differentiate between mid and full power bikes. The Rise has 60 Newton meters, whilst the Wild has 85. Flashing star here, the Obar Rise has a little trick up its sleeve, which I'll talk about in a minute. The torque number gives you a good idea of how powerful the bike's going to feel. A bike with around 50 or 60 Newton meters is going to need a lot of effort from legs and lungs to keep up with a bike with 80 plus Newton meters that will feel a lot more effortless to get up to speed. We now have bikes going up to 120 Newton meters in a short period of boost, but Bosch, who've just released this latest top line Performance Line CX motor, haven't risen to the bait of chasing those numbers. This still has 85 Newton meters of torque, but now it's lighter and quieter. Peak power. This is where you sometimes see a difference between mid and full power bikes. How much power the bike's going to give you to the rear wheel when you're given your maximum power. Both of these bikes will give you 600 watts of peak power, but some low assist motors will only give you 300 watts. Pair that with, say, 50 Newton meters of torque, and that's going to feel a lot less powerful than these two bikes, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Right, so this is my Obar Rise. It's the LT version, which is 160 fork, 150 rear travel and a 64-degree head angle, or can be 64.5 as well. There is a flip chip on the rear for high or low. They also do an SL version, so a more trail-friendly version, which is 140 front and rear, slightly different geometry. So I talked about that flashing star earlier. This bike has a Shimano EP801 motor, which is their full power motor, but it's got some software called RS, stands for Rider Synergy, which Shimano and Obar work together on. So this is a 60 Newton meter bike in the RS mode, but you can change it up to an RS Plus mode, which gives you the full 85 Newton meters at a lower cadence, but that is at the cost of range. If you want the lightweight build, the 420 watt-hour battery weighs in at 1.95 kilograms, but if you want the bigger battery, the 630, that weighs 2.9 kilograms. Plus, of course, you've got the option for that range extender. So loads of different options there, depending on how far you want to ride or how much power you want to use. My bike is actually the 420 watt-hour battery, and I've been pretty impressed, to be honest, with the range on this, but I have been riding it mostly in the RS mode at 60 Newton meters and not the RS Plus. Less E, more bike is what you'll hear about a lot of these style e-bikes, and it's true. And that often means as well that they're quite minimalistic. So they look like mountain bikes in the silhouette, but also up on the bars. There's not many screens, things like that. Obviously, I've got the controls, turn the bike on and select the power modes. And I've actually paired my Garmin head unit to the bike. So it gives me my battery, my smart range, what mode I'm in, all sorts of information, as well as, of course, the normal Garmin navigations and data tracking. My bike came spec'd with the mighty Shimano XT Di2 gears, so electronic gears that are powered directly from the bike. Plus, you've also got the benefits of auto and free shift should you want it. And the real world weight of this bike is 18.8 kilograms with pedals. Prices start at £4,999 for the H30 aluminium model, up to £10,999 for the SLM Limited model. This is the brand new Ora Wilds, their award-winning e-bike that's been updated. It's also been raced to great success by Flo Espineri at the E-Enduro World Cups, and even raced World Cup downhill, sort of. A modified version of this bike, obviously without the motor and the battery, Martin Mays rode at the downhill World Cup, which is pretty incredible. Shows what it's capable of. It's a 170mm travel big hitter, and it's spec'd to match. You've got the big Fox 38 fork and the DHX2 air shock with the big piggyback. Downhill tyres, you can run this in full 29, which all bears say is the fastest version, or you can run it mixed wheel size like I have now, if you swap out the linkage, which gives you a bit more space to the rear of the bike. It's made for going fast, it is slack, it's got a 63.5 head angle and obeys steep and deep geometry, so you can run a massive dropper seat post in there. It's got an E-optimised frame as well, you can see that cradle down there nice and low. This is the carbon version, they also do a high polished aluminium version which looks almost identical. That Bosch Performance Line CX motor, the brand new Generation 5, which I've talked about already, is on this bike. And the real world weight for my bike, which is medium, with pedals and a 600 watt-hour battery, is 21.4 kilograms. There's also an ST version of this bike, more trail friendly. That's 150mm travel front and rear. Prices start at $4,799 for the ST H30 aluminium and up to $10,999 for the Wild M Limited carbon. If I was to try and simply sum up the differences between these two bikes, I'd say it feels a bit more like an enduro bike versus a trail bike. But I can kind of disprove that as well at the same time, because Damien Otton has raced really successfully at the E-Enduro on a modified Rise. So both bikes can do both things, but just the way they are spec'd is different. Of course, you've got a 38 fork versus 36, the geometry. And you know, you can do both things on both bikes. You can go epic on a 1,000 watt-hour wild, definitely, but it feels more natural probably to do it on this. I feel like I want to go out and do the epic rides on this bike and probably put in a bit more effort as well. I like riding this bike on the lower torque. the RS mode and actually putting in some effort and whizzing along with a tailwind on my back. So yeah, it's kind of those differences. And actually the 2 and a bit kilograms heavier on the Wild, in some circumstances is good as well. You've got more momentum, the suspension works really well. For bombing downhill, it's great. Of course, it takes a bit more stopping as well, but that does make it feel more like an enduro bike, and this much more like a really agile, sharp trail bike. So the mid-power or even low-power e-mountain bikes, they do feel like the most natural bikes out there for when it comes to e-bikes. Less E, more bike. I definitely think it feels like a regular mountain bike with a tailwind, and that's how it sort of encourages you to ride as well. Whereas the FullPower, you know, it makes you want to climb things you've never done before, and the meters per hour up and down are like nothing else, albeit with longer travel on this one as well. Marginally harder to stop and pedal above the speed limit, yes, but I think that is becoming less so. With each new motor update, they're becoming more efficient and smoother. So let me know if you're thinking about buying your first e-mountain bike. Jump in the comments down below if you've got any more questions. And yeah, what do you see the future of these e-mountain bikes?